team, all of us to stand because we need to do a bit of some stretching.
Hello, yes.
All good? Control team? All good? Okay, so let's stand, please. Kindly. Okay. So, do we all know the chicken dance? We all know the chicken dance, yeah? Oh my days, do we know the chicken dance? I happen to be a girl, guys, as you can see, and I'm very jealous. If you don't speak to me, I feel some type of way. We women tend to have that sort of thing. So please speak to me. Do we all know the chicken dance? Could we have it on the screen? Okay, please let's have the chicken dance on the screen, please. Yes, the chicken dance. Please do the video. I don't know if I can hack it, but listen. Let's move. So let's shake a little, okay? Ready? Let's go. Sorry. Sway. Come on, move a little. Yeah. Again. Thank you very much. Please have your seats. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're jumping right into the first session. The first session is on adaptation, resilience building, and anticipatory action. So building on Kenya's progress and global best practices, this session will explore how anticipatory action, linking early warning system, risk analysis, pre-arranged financing can help reduce the impacts of climate hazards before they escalate into crisis. By integrating anticipatory action into broader adaptation and resilience strategies, countries can safeguard livelihoods, empower local communities, and ensure that climate responses are timely, inclusive, and sustainable in line with COP30 priorities on resilience and loss and damage. So that's the session we are getting right into. I have the privilege of welcoming Mr. Boniface Onyango Othiambo, the Climate Inclusive Development Leader, who will be moderating this session. We will have a panel from Kenya Red Cross. We will have the DRR CVA Manager, Mr. Peter Murgo. We'll have Francesco Palumbo. I hope I didn't butcher this name, but yeah, Francesco Palumbo, Associate Expert, Regional Office for Africa, UNDRR. We have MSF, represented by Head of Climate and Environmental Adaptation, Alan Magugu. So karibuni sana, that's the panel we have today. And before that, let me give you one dad joke before I disappear. I happen not to be a very funny person, but for today I had to prepare climate jokes. So tell me if this is funny. So as we move into this first session, let's all remember that, you know, Kenyans are naturally resilient, and I'll tell you why. If we can survive the Nairobi traffic and the Kenyan economy, climate shocks has nothing on us. Thank you very much, Karibu Boniface. You didn't happen to laugh, so I wasn't funny.
Thank you. Thank you, Cecilia, for that. And good morning, everyone. Yes, as mentioned, I'm Boniface Odhiambo. I work for International Rescue Committee, integrating climate work within humanitarian sector and inclusive development. So for this session, I have wonderful panelists, and this is the first session for the day. So it means we are going just to set the foundation for the conversation that we anticipate to have in the course of the day. So some of my panelists, I believe, should be within the house, and will be joined by other panelists online. Now, when you look at adaptation, resilience building, anticipatory action, and combination of that context, it means this is where we need to set up our foundation and the journey ahead. And the team or the experts in the house to give us insights on this. First, we have, just want to check if they can hear us online. Mr. Peter Murgor, just say hello where you are if you can listen to us, and I believe you can also see on the screen.
Thank you, Boniface. Good morning, colleagues and fellow practitioners in the room. It's a pleasure to really be here, and thank you. Back to you, Boniface.
Thank you. And also to check if we have Francisco Palumba from the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction. Francisco, are you there? All right, probably it could be connection also. And then our colleague from MSF, Alan Magugu, I don't know that you're in the house. Please join me at least. Not everyone is online. Please, let's give him a clap as he comes in. Thank you so much, Mr. Alan, who is the head of climate and environment adaptation. All right. Now, looking at maybe just give you a chance just to say a word to the team here, just to hear your voice, Mr. Alan, as you join us.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Alan Magugu. I'm from Medicine Sans Frontiers, also known as Doctors Without Borders, or simply as MSF, and it's my pleasure to be part of this panel.
Thank you, and welcome. Now, looking at adaptation resilience building, and I want to just start off with the first question to Peter Morgan. I know we have had a very long journey as Kenya country program, as a country in Kenya, looking at the anticipatory work. And Kenya Red Cross being one of the leading humanitarian actors and also a co-chair of the technical working group on anticipatory action. How is the Kenya Red Cross working with government, institutions, and partners to operationalize the Kenya Anticipatory Action Roadmap, and what key lessons can be shared in advancing anticipatory action systems ahead of COP30's focus on adaptation and resilience? Maybe just take us through that. What is it that you are doing in the framework of the AA in Kenya and the roadmap? Over to you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Boniface. But first of all, allow me, being from Kenya Red Cross, to first of all thank everyone who's come in. Ideally, I should have been with you in person there, but because of some competing tasks and the need to handle other priority needs on this end as well, I've not been able to be in. And I know Cecilia has mentioned that the Kenya Red Cross invites all of you. Our senior management leadership acknowledges and appreciates everyone who's come in. At some point, let me mention that our Deputy Secretary General will be coming in. He was meant to be with us during the start, but you know the kind of disasters that are happening across the country. So it's just important for me to underscore our commitment so that you don't feel like we've not received you well, but I do appreciate. So, and that forms the basis of your question, Boniface, on what Kenya Red Cross is doing. Predominantly, if I was to ask you in the room, how do you know Kenya Red Cross? I'm very sure a number of us would be thinking about band-aids, would be thinking about ambulances and emergency response and evacuating lives after a disaster. But we've been at the forefront also on long-term programming and developing approaches that seek to mitigate. When we look at the DRM continuum, we have the mitigation phase, we have the anticipatory action phase, we have preparedness before we get even into response. What Kenya Red Cross has been doing for almost past 8 to 9 years now has been on the first front, where ICHA comes in very relevant, is developing evidence base for anticipatory action, where we took time to develop evidence, we took time to research, to look at thresholds, triggers, profile, risk analysis of the climate-related hazards, and then prioritizing them, where we realized that floods and droughts were the leading climate-induced impacts. Of course, there are a number others. And after that, development of early action protocols. Other bodies would call it anticipatory action protocols. And then working with the government, developing the Kenya Anticipatory Action Technical Working Group. This also included capacity building and creating an awareness on what anticipatory action is so that people could understand. Since then, after developing the body of practice, after identifying the prioritized impact and then looking into the prioritized early actions that we could undertake, the issue now became conversations around financing for risk. And I want you to pause for a moment, and I want you to think about the recent. Let me just go to the very recent one, Chesongoch, the mudslide, the landslide that we're knowing in Elgeyo Marakwet. If a week before we spoke and we told people to evacuate, probably they wouldn't think about evacuating. Why? As a country, we are wired in a way that probably oftentimes we respond to having seen the impact as opposed to taking heed of the impact. We know the famous Serikali's idea. And in 2019, I want to tell a number of us, you will remember this, where when Red Cross was thinking about the Takwel Gorge bursting and the flooding was evident, all the early warning mechanisms were clear, the advisories had been issued, and we went ahead to tell people we need to evacuate before time. What happened? There was a backlash. A backlash because there was a perception that Red Cross is just trying to resource mobilize, while actually we were taking heed of early warnings and triggers and things that were very clearly forecasted to try and make people act early. But the problem was when this was not done, we then realized it is an ecosystem approach. The whole architecture, it meant stakeholders, government, partners, communities needed to be sensitized on anticipatory action. So what Red Cross embarked on doing is, besides establishing and supporting government to establish the government-led Kenya Anticipatory Action Technical Working Group, and I'm happy, I know Boniface IRC is one of the active players in this forum. I know MSF has expressed interest and a number of people in the room there. What we have done is also to look at a roadmap, Kenya Anticipatory Action Roadmap, that clearly stipulates and highlights how we shall operationalize this. And lastly, we are working with communities. I like what was said earlier about vulnerabilities and having communities themselves being the architects of coming up with climate action plans. So a very core function of Kenya Red Cross is to work with the communities themselves to be at the center of making decisions and community-based adaptation and anticipatory action points that will now help us to mitigate this, which aligns to the COP30 agenda. I know I could say a lot about this, but let me pause here, Boniface, and come back to you in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter, for those great reflections. And ideally, the Kenya Anticipatory Action Roadmap and the technical working group that is overseeing its implementation is coming in at the right time, working with different collaborators and partners. Now, coming back to the room, and this goes to Ellen here, in terms of what MSF does, probably you'll just give us more insight on that. But as part of that, climate-related emergencies are increasingly impacting on health systems and vulnerable populations. And if you look at the earlier speakers, even keynote speakers, talking about vulnerability. So with these across Kenya's arid and semi-arid regions, now from MSF perspective, how can health-focused organizations strengthen preparedness and anticipatory action to prevent climate-induced health crises before they escalate?
Thank you. First, maybe also just for everyone, so MSF, we are a humanitarian medical organization. So when it comes to climate change, our focus is really on climate and health. And of course, because in the East African region, we are also seeing a convergence of conflict, displacement, so that interaction we're also into. Coming back to the question, I'll say, I'll give what MSF is doing in terms of climate and health. So the first is we do produce what we call climate products. These are early warning systems, for instance, seasonal calendars, where we do forecasts, and this helps our operational teams to then better prepare for any eventualities. For example, the current rainfall season in Kenya and the Eastern Africa region, it's the forecasts are normal to below normal rainfall. So what does it mean? It means like in regions where there will be drought, then we forecast that there will be maybe malnutrition cases on the rise. If there will be too much rainfall, it may lead to floods, and this may then lead to cholera outbreaks, cases of malaria. So that's one aspect that we do, and this information, these products, then they support our operational teams. And then the other aspect as well, in terms of enhancing our preparedness, we have what we call foresight planning, where we say, okay, 5 years from now, what will be the situation in terms of climate shocks? And based on the different scenarios, then we are able to say, okay, what are the resources that will be required? What will be the response mechanism? So this is part of anticipatory action that we do. For example, on malaria, for instance, that we respond to, if we have seasonal calendars and we know at this particular time of the year, it is the malaria season. So prior to that, then we do community awareness. We do distribute, mosquito nets and those kind of activities, so that whenever the malaria season takes off, the cases are at minimum. And lastly, we are also onto community engagements, because we want to understand in terms of indigenous knowledge systems. So all these activities that we do help us in terms of our preparedness and making sure that at least we are adapting our activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magugu, and you really give us very good insights in terms of even the products that you come up with within your programming and the level of preparedness you put in place. And this really gives us the point that climate change, it affects cross-board, within the health, within the programs where we work in, the population that we serve who are more vulnerable. And thank you for that great work. Just as a follow-up, as you build up on that point, MSF experience in responding to climate-related outbreaks and displacement in Kenya, what are the key priority or policy shifts that should be emphasized now that we are getting into COP30 to ensure that the health considerations are fully integrated into national climate adaptation and resilience?
Yes, thank you. So MSF will be part of COP30, and as a movement, we have our COP30 advocacy strategy that we'll be presenting. So one of the key messages there will be in terms of, we are saying persistent financing gap has direct consequences in terms of national systems. They can't, adapt. Health infrastructure remains unprepared, and communities, are most exposed to climate shocks, are left without protection. So the key messages going to COP30 will be, MSF is calling for a shift, from promises to implementation. I know this is one of the agenda points for COP30, so we are really emphasizing in terms of implementation to ensure that climate finance reaches those that are most affected. Also, in terms of funding, we're saying COP30 must prioritize adaptation and loss and damage, especially in fragile and humanitarian context.
Thank you. It really looks very precise and very clear, and happy that in this session today there's a team that we're talking about climate financing, so we just want to hear a bit deep thoughts on those reflections. Coming back to Peter, you really brought out the work Kenya Red Cross has done, more so on system strengthening and ensuring that working with the different partners and ensuring that also bringing in the focus on the community adaptation and resilience. Now, with Kenya Red Cross championing early warning, early actions approaches through the technical working group on the anticipatory actions within the country, what policy or financing priorities should Kenya and its partners advocate for at COP30 to ensure that anticipatory action is sustainable and more embedded within the national and the county disaster risk management frameworks?
Thank you very much. And you see, it's currently, of course, we have a lot of funding that is going towards disaster. Of course, we are talking a lot about now acting in preparedness. And I like what MSF is doing in terms of climate and health, very clear deliverables there. Of course, we can't separate the two. And we know that human beings, we hinge on a thriving health. I mean, if we're healthy, then we can earn our livelihoods, then we can move around and do our jobs, then we become effective in our doings. So what clear policy and financing asks that we can ask for from the COP30? First of all, is in the enabling policy environment. We need to move beyond just policies that are good pieces of paper, but actionable frameworks, actionable policies that can be fundable and that can trigger financing, so that we not just have things that now from one point to another is stuck. Look at the loss and damage, for example. We've been talking about loss and damage financing. We've been talking about very wonderful pieces of funding from one piece to another. Now there's a very big agenda on climate funding. How do we have enabling frameworks? How do these frameworks become very easy, practical, actionable? We must deliver concrete finance and measurable pathways to enable inclusive resilience. My brother from CBM Global, a very good partner that we work very closely. And I'm always very happy when I see him in the room when we engage with them, because practicable ways. So how do we make policies that are inclusive, policies that are forward-looking, policies that point us towards building the resilience and walking the talk in terms of mitigating against risk, and that enables funding mechanisms to make it very easy. You see, the other thing is, it's one thing to have policies in place. It's one thing to have funding approaches in place. But then again, how accessible are they? How easily and practicably applicable are they? And then how well understood are they? And how accessible are they even to the local settings and communities, and even, for example, CBOs, CSOs, and local implementing agencies, so that we can trigger this funding. The biggest thing we want to work against is having frameworks, but then again, not being able to make them operationalizable. If they cannot be operationalized, then they're not even serving us. So that is the thing that we would just really put, that as we go around this piece of work, as we go around strengthening systems, as we go around strengthening governments, as we go around participatory approaches and working with communities and making them ready, we will need to put finance where there is anticipatory action. And as I just give it back to you, one of the biggest challenges of anticipatory action is like telling you to put funds where you've not already seen the results. We are just using the no regrets approach, for example. So if the prediction indicator is good enough, how can we allocate resources for that? I will finish that with an example. For example, Kenya Red Cross is currently implementing a drought early action protocol. We are undertaking early actions in Kitui, Kilifi, and Kwale through funds that have been set aside for anticipatory action through the IFRC early action protocols. But if we were to go to a partner, in 2023, we struggled with the thresholds and triggers being very high. So there was financing, there was money that was said that you can use this money for early action. But when you look at the triggers and thresholds, they are very high. The bar is set very much high. So we need to develop funding models for anticipatory action that are easily accessible, easily operationable, context specific, and can be able to be triggered within a good time to be easily accessed. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Peter. And in your last comment about financing and what you are doing, just triggered my thoughts that also as a practitioner, probably also share with our audience here and those also online, in terms of what IRC is doing and the kind of work that we also see will kind of coming up as an evidence for many actors or many of us who are in the anticipatory action. Maybe looking at within the context of humanitarian programming, where IRC work within most of those with displaced persons, most of the refugees and the marginalized. One of the key things I can just mention is what we call the anticipatory cash at scale. This is where you kind of look at relying on very well-defined early warning systems, well-established trigger threshold. Then you can give out some cash to cushion and maybe reduce the level of the shock or the risk that the more exposed population, the vulnerable population, can be able to experience. That's something that IRC has been able to implement. Two is also looking at more on the working within the national and the county level systems, ensure that there's a well-coordinated approach on how we do our work and aligning with the county government, national government. This also helps us create more of coordination. And I must say that working close with different agencies here, led by Kenya Red Cross and our UN agency sisters, they have been in a position just basically to ensure that we have a very well-coordinated work at both the national and within the county level. Then lastly, maybe also just to speak on one of our also take home in terms of lessons learned. Probably for the team that will be speaking about financing, there's what we call about risk layering in kind of climate or anticipatory actions. And in some contexts, maybe you can talk about taking up insurance or parametric insurance, where we kind of come with some small investment. You can insure and liaise with maybe some of the insurance companies that have those kind of products, where now they're looking at the nature of what the, for example, the hazards or the risks, like even what happened in Elgeyo Marakwet last week. Assume that we foresaw that the level of rainfall will trigger some landslide. Then we can agree in such a way that that community or that location, they are insured. So if any case something happens, there's kind of compensation that comes to help them recover and also help them rebuild their lives, or relocate well in advance, ensuring that whatever they have used for that relocation should be in a position to really support their livelihood. But this must be integrated with well pre-informed and community-led actions, which is normally very important. Now, after I've said that, probably as we come towards the end of the session, to our panelists, I just want to come back to Mr. Magugu in terms of his final thought. Now that we are looking at COP30, you already highlighted what you do in the health sector, but what do you see as key take-home and can be our positioning when we are looking forward to COP30?
Yeah, the key takeaway for us really is action, implementation. I think the time of planning is behind us. We just need to put action into our words.
Thank you. Very precise. Yes, Peter, your final thoughts, reflecting on this and more so on adaptations, resilience building, and necessary action. What is our take home as we look forward to COP30?
What we need to understand is adaptation is not just something we can wish away. We need to really know that this is the only way we can be able to support communities. We need to scale up anticipatory action. We need to have gender responsive and all-inclusive adaptation and resilience at scale. This is inevitable if really we are going to experience the benefits of anticipatory action and adaptation.
Thank you. The last statement on gender inclusive, and that has been the talk, and if you look at even our opening remarks, our keynote speakers were alluding that inclusivity comes in as a very strong point. Yes, that has been wonderful, and as I wrap up this session, I still go back to our key high note pointers from our moderator earlier, that when we look forward and we take home, let us take into mind collaboration over competition is key. And here, even as seen this panel, it is more of the solution, not people just coming up with the speeches as we were directing this conversation. And lastly, we look forward to put into action over interest. So then we see our work translating into a more resilient communities, more adaptable communities, and I believe we are all going to get a more safe ecosystem and a better environment for all of us. That is all from us. Thank you so much, my panelists, for sharing your insights and greatly sharing those wonderful, conversations. Yeah. Yes, I can see from the observations, probably there could be one or two persons who will want to maybe throw in a reflection on what our panelists have said or a question. Anybody have a mic, could just be walking around, and if you have just a comment or a question or reflection of the discussion before I close on the session. Or just a comment. Means we are good. Okay. Thank you. Then I close it there. I know we have listened in through, and over to you, Cecilia.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. Could I perhaps take some key takeaways from anyone in the room? Anyone who wants to share any key takeaways from the panel? Or anyone online? Okay. Thank you very much. Please, before you leave, I would request, oh my panel, you're really quick to leave. Why? Why? Please, have a seat. We want to do a quick photo, and may request these table members, please, to join us for that quick session, right? Photo session. Okay, fantastic. Please, the keynote speakers, the ones remaining from the morning, please join the team. Murgor, if you're still online, please turn on your video. I hope you've gone to sip some margaritas. You look like you're at the coast. No, no, they can have a seat and then we'll still have the picture from Ama Uneza. You can get the, okay. Rui, do you mind joining the team up? And Mr. Edwin, please. Mugur, I hope I'm representing you well. You are
Cecilia, you're doing fine. You're doing
okay,
fine.
okay,
Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
Okay. So after this photo session, we'll have a 20 minutes break. And here is what we're going to do with a 20 minutes break. I want to give us an assignment. We have very nice sessions happening at the booth sessions. So we will grab coffee, tea, I don't know if there's some juice, but we'll grab some snacks. Please walk through the booths, get to learn a thing or two about what KCB is doing with the communities. There is ePlus. There are a couple of others. I'm trying to see them from here, but I can't. Please walk through the booths. We will time the session. It's just 20 minutes. Grab coffee, go to the booths, network with each other, and then we'll be back here for the second panel discussion. Does that sound like a plan? Oh my, does that sound like a plan? Okay. Please feel free to grab some coffee. Thank you very much.
When you were here before, could look in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special. You're so very special, but I'm here. I would say I'm sorry if I thought that I would change your mind. But I know that this time I have said too much, been too unkind. I tried to laugh about it, cover it all up with lies. I tried to laugh about it, hide the tears in my eyes. 'Cause boys don't cry.
Hello. Hello, let's go back in, please. We're moving on to the next panel discussion. Please, let's come back into the room. If you're outside, kindly join us in the room. We are doing badly with time. Okay. Good. Is it afternoon already? No. Good morning. Did you guys enjoy your tea? Hello? Okay, it's okay. Did you get to visit the booths? Yes. Which booth did we visit? Anyone? I am not going to call you here at the front, I promise. I just want to know if you guys got a chance. Yes. Please help me with the mic right there in the middle. The beautiful lady in orange. I hope that is orange. So I'm told I'm colorblind. That's orange, yeah?
Good morning, everybody. I'm known as Grace Papa from the Stepping Stone Fashion and Center. I'm the community. At the same time, I'm also Kenya Red Cross Life member. Me, I've gone to visit our colleagues there, Red Cross, the selling or the issue, the first aid kits. Secondly, I've gone to KSB to inquire some of the things. I'm very grateful. Because of time, I will still communicate with them, madam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. You still have the whole day to still visit the KCB Foundation's booth as well as Kenya Red Cross. So don't worry, madam, and thank you so much for being here. One thing that you've learned from the booth, I'm really trying to know if we've learned something, by the way. What is that one key takeaway from one of the booths? Anyone? Oh.
Okay, thank you. I've liked the Kenya Red Cross booth because they're providing the first aid. In case of anything, they're ready to start or to go. I've also liked the booth of KCB because they have those handles. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And even support my community. Thank you.
Fantastic. So please take some time to learn something, the packages that are there as well. Feel free to interact with them if you wish to know a little bit about first aid, as the beautiful lady in orange has said. Then we'll be good to go. Allow me to invite the second panel discussion. Because of time, we are limiting each panel discussion to 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes. This panel discussion, this session will explore how humanitarian systems can adapt to these emerging mobility trends through anticipatory action, inclusive policy framework, and integrated climate humanitarian financing. As we head to COP30, the discussion will underscore the urgent need for global commitments that recognize climate-induced displacement as key components of climate justice, calling for coordinated action that safeguards rights, builds resilience, and ensures that no one is left behind in the face of climate. So, as hot as it's getting, I don't know if we know this, and as we are leading to this discussion is very relevant because with how hot it's getting, I need you guys to know that even my house plans are considering relocating from my house. Oh, you laughed at that one, yes. Yes, thank you guys. So allow me to introduce Ms. Farhia Ahmed, Programs Director at Zamzam Foundation, who will be joined online with Ms. Ali Anila Nur. My apologies. Ms. Ali Nur is the Managing Director and EU Pact Ambassador. Sincere apologies from Mr. Ballet Koli Jaji, late communication that he's had to step out. But thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Faria.
Good morning. Distinguished guests, colleagues and friends, it is my honor to welcome you to these important discussions, refugees, IDP, climate migrants, and humanitarian response. As the climate crisis intensifies, more communities are being forced to move not by choice, but by the circumstances they're facing, especially in the Sahel counties, where Zamzam Foundation works, that is Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Turkana, Tana River, and the likes. This session aims to explore how humanitarian system can adapt through anticipatory actions, inclusive policy framework, and integrated climate humanitarian financing. As we prepare for the climate justice must include mobility justice, ensuring that those most affected are heard, protected, and empowered. When we talk about climate change and we talk about the Sahel counties, most of these people who habitat that area are also pastoralists. They migrate from one place to another, mostly in search of water and pasture. Now, allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists who will join me. Anila Noor, she's also the spokesperson for the BMZ Action Network on First. I'll let her also introduce herself more on that. And also, let me also introduce Mr. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name well, Ballet Koli Jaji. Ms. Anila Noor, please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your organization.
Thank you so much. My voice is okay? Everyone can hear me? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. Myself, Anila Noor, and I'm based in Netherlands, but working on a regional and global level, where we as a new women connector are trying to bring the community knowledge, especially refugee women knowledge about climate, because there's no gender justice without climate justice, and that's what in the collaboration with the BMZ, and where we are bringing the leadership of displaced communities. And I'm also PACT ambassador of EU, European Commission. In this, my all different hats, we are trying to bring actually the voices from the local level, because for us, this is the time we communities, especially refugee and displaced community, IDPs communities, we not need to be taken as only beneficiary or only as a vulnerable community. We have a resilience. That's why we are saying leading resilience is one of the component. And second component is meaningful participation, where we are advocating how we be involved meaningfully, not only on tokenization, way, not only for consultation, not only to take our knowledge and then get away with it. We are really trying to create an ecosystem based on accountability and where we co-design the agenda. We are going next week in upcoming days in COP30 as well. And I know how participation becoming so expensive and so distant. Unfortunately, this policy domain, instead of opening up, they are getting shrinked. We see the funding cuts impact on us, and these spaces are shrinking, and that's why we are making sure how we make sure nothing about us without us, and we make sure our voice is not there only for advocacy, but also we have the co-leadership, co-designing. We have the resources and power to create the future. We really want to create a sustainable future, equitable future for all of us. So I'm happy to be in this panel and look for a further discussion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noor. Thank you very much. Now, let's go to Mr. Ballet Koli. Okay, I'm afraid that you will be joining us for this session. So, just to say something before we continue, Zamzam Foundation Kenya has been nominated in the NGO Awards for Best in Water and Sanitation. Please go to the site and vote for us. I think today is the deadline for the voting. We'll appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, to the new women connectors, I'm going to ask you this question. Women and girls often bear the greatest burden of climate-induced displacement, especially in arid and border regions. From your experience, how can gender response approaches be embedded in humanitarian system to ensure that women voices, capacities, and protection needs are prioritized during displacement and recovery?
Thank you, Afriya, for your question. I think in my introductory remarks, I already touch upon a little bit. For us, gender response or bringing refugee women and girls is a mandatory. It has to be a main component. It has to be a main foundation. It has to be a main outline of the framework. But unfortunately, till today, gender response and bringing women voices and their need feel like added on options. And that's why we are failing. That's why we are not bringing that impact. Coming from a country like Pakistan and now living in Europe, I felt how it is still been lacking the gender understanding, and we already felt we are targeting only as a receiver. We are not being taken as a part of the designing, so that's why we are failing. Being a leading part in this discussion, we are advocating for meaningful participation where we say what we want, to define the question, to define the problem, because it will help us to understand what we really need on the ground. It will help us to overcome the challenges when we implement any planning, any policy, any project or program. Then we see, oh, this is not what community needs, this is not addressing the woman need, this is not addressing girls' need. That's why it's important before designing, we need to involve them. And as you correctly mentioned, we already see in the funding and in the powered displacement, women-led organization is on the last stage of the on the receiving end, but we are on the forefront to get the impact. Either it's conflict, either it's displacement, either it's climate impact, either it's floods. Women-led organization, women are the ones who are facing this barrier, this impact on their self. So that's why it's very important we start building inclusive approaches, and that's why I want to take this opportunity. In upcoming weeks, actually, we are launching one big project in Kenya, in Nairobi, where we are asking refugee women-led organization to work with us to collect the data, because data is the main key. If we have data, it will help us to collect the missing element, and how refugee women-led organization can get the data to use this data in their advocacy and to show this is the missing, and to help more inclusive, visible, transparent call to action. Second point, we are running a program already. One is Together for Our Future, Together for Our Nature and Earth, where we are simplifying the need of this complex technical discussion like COP30, where we are helping community through our coffee tables and our leading resilience session, where we are helping them to get the mentorship, get the training, and to explain what is needed when we are creating an inclusive solution. That's why I request all of you who are listening to me online and in person, please reach out to us. We love to work with all of us together to create a solidarity, not to compete, but to complement the work which we are doing. Because all of us, we need to leverage our experience and take this knowledge for the future we want to build. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this insightful contribution. It highlights that true resilience starts with the inclusion of women at every level. During my coffee break, I was having a conversation with one of Mrs. Susana Rodriguez, and she mentioned something that about when planting trees and how it impacts women, and actually women who don't have source of livelihood in areas like Kisumu. And they face actually a lot of troubles because from the point, when it comes to protection and resilience, from the point when she doesn't have money and she wants maybe to sell her fish, she's taken advantage of. So also that is something to ponder about. So I will also ask you this. I will also say that Zamzam Foundation was recognized by the United Nations with special consultative status and ECOSOC for his humanitarian and development work in the Horn of Africa. Something about Zamzam Foundation is it was established in Somalia. That is on 1992. And we pride ourselves both in Somalia and Kenya. Now it's locally also registered in Kenya in 2019. In building of greenhouses, drilling of over 500 boreholes and shallow wells across the Asile counties. So, having said that, my next question for you, Mrs. Noor, is as we approach the COP30, what concrete actions or policy commitments are needed to strengthen women-led networks and community organizations working on intersection of climate change, migration, and resilience?
Thank you, Fariha. I think as we are getting very close to the COP, is happening already, it's starting in 2 days. It's very important we keep advocating, keep asking for our right of participation, keep asking for more resources for us as a community-led organization, women-led organization. And as I already mentioned, how we leverage our understanding, why it is important. What is the EU Green Deal? What is a just transaction? What is a loss and damage fund? So we really need to learn from each other where we can go and ask accountability mechanism, where we really need to understand how this technical, unfortunately, policy high-level domain is a shrinking space, and it's not led by women-led organization, it's not led by community discussion, and how we can ask for it. Like, it's not a favor. It's not we are asking for favor or privilege. This is our right. So it's very important we use our social media, we use our in-person meeting to ask for our information, to ask accountability, to ask for why we are still today failing. It's already 30 years and we are seeing so far no impact, and it's becoming so challenges for us to even to participate. This is very important. We keep asking for the accountability. We asking for more information, and it's very important. Whoever is able to go, we plan some side events. We plan some meeting to create a visibility. Why is still not very inclusive discussion? That's the simple thing we can do to create this kind of campaign to share. These are the spaces are not involving us, inviting us.
Excellent points on leadership and empowerment, and also this brings about what was mentioned earlier, action over intention.
Yeah.
At Zamzam Foundation, we take the practical steps that humanitarian systems take to ensure that policy framework remain inclusive responses to realities, refugees, and climate migrants. We work closely with vulnerable and displaced communities to ensure that voices inform county and national planning. We push for co-created solutions where communities are not just consulted but become equal partners in designing and monitoring response. Okay, this question was for our colleague who is not here with us today. I hope you won't mind, Ms. Noor, if I also ask you this question.
Well, I think it's interlinked. It is very interlinked to understand, because for us it's very important to not only to create only a consultation, but also create more inclusive understanding. Also to see how to revisit what the failure, why we are, because sometimes maybe we are not learning for our failure. So I think this is the time where we accept function system is not functioning, and how we can restart, redo something, and we learn from our failure. So this is the only answer I could, share from my end. That's why we're saying I'm happy to bring more knowledge, more mentorship, more working with the local communities, because we are one of the communities. So how we are recreating our spaces is very important.
Thank you very much for that. And at Zamzam Foundation also, we have implemented integrated humanitarian climate programs that link immediate relief with long-term adaptations. That is like such of greenhouses, which over now 400 people, 4,000 people are benefiting from it, such as water systems, livelihood training, and women-led cooperatives. We see displaced people as active contributors to resilience. When I was listening to Mr. Our colleague giving the opening remarks here, so not passive recipients, climate finance must invest directly in their leadership and in also innovation. This is inclusivity. We all come together to take action, and we all come together to create that resilience. So I'll ask you this question too, Mrs. Noor. My question is, how can integrated climate humanitarian finance be structured to empower displaced communities, not just as receptive of aid, but as active agents in building resilience and shaping adaptation strategies?
Yes, Priya, finance is a very main component in leadership and in empowerment. We can't and we shouldn't deny this element. If you have resources, if you have enough finance, if you have enough budget, you already see the leverage in your confidence, in your planning, confidence in bringing the resources and knowledge and to bring the sustainability. And it is interlinked. That's why I already mentioned like how we can create a more understanding how climate finance is working today, and how displaced community are not there in the discussion. They are not there in the communication. They are not there in the policy design. We as a displaced community been just touched upon ticking the box. Unfortunately, today we all hear our stories, and these stories is been taken as a tocnic story to such the stage, but we are not involving in co-designing the agenda, co-designing the theme. That's why this is the time we stand very strong and to start saying no. And we start saying no, like this is not the way we want to engage. We really want a meaningful engagement. We really want to engage more inclusive environment where we feel responsible, accountable, and implement the design we want to build.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Noor, for that. Before we go to ask you about your reformations on this topic, I'll hand it over to our colleagues here. Anybody who has any other questions or any comments they would like to make?
Once more, I said I'm Grace Papa. I'm the community. I'm very grateful for today's conversation. What is making me to be very happy, the way they have talked or said, it's better to go and empower the community. My request is, it's better the office or the foundation to go down to the community and see the way these young women and girls that are suffering due to defilement and rape. Some of them, they are still behind. They don't know where to go, where to report cases of those. If you, my humble request, if you go back to our community and empower them, or even train them, some of them, they will come out of their lower, I can say, they will understand in case of those cases of rape defilement. They're supposed to report to chief, report to the police, go and get the treatment. And even during this climate change, for example, in our area, there's a slopy place, or the land is slopy, it goes into the river. And during the rains always comes at night. Those houses, they are always over flooded. And girls and women normally go for safety. There you will find those ones, the people ready to receive them. Come, we support you where to get the shelter. And instead, young girls and women are being raped and defined. And this is creating dropping out from school, mostly to some young girls who are in school. If the foundation will come, or the Kenya Red Cross will come to the ground and empower our community, I'll be grateful. Thank you for today's conversation. Thank you.
You remember when we came from break, she said that she's a life member of Kenya Red Cross, and for her to become that, I think it's because of collaboration and hard work. So let's go to Mrs. Noor. Please give us, as new women connectors, reformation. Or is there anybody else who has a question or a comment? Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm Kemuto Victoria from Kenyatta University, but I also work with an initiative called Green Generative Initiative. So there we currently work under the climate justice and climate finance so that we can be able to educate more communities. So, and for my panelists, I want to say thank you for this opportunity and also for the insightful conversation we are having. So my question goes to Anina Noel, the managing director. So how can humanitarian systems move beyond consultation to create truly meaningful partnerships with depressed persons, ensuring their voices are heard and acted upon in policy making? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Anila Noor, will you take that, or we'll wait for another question?
No, I will take this question.
All right, thank you.
By answering, I will also conclude my remarks because unfortunately I also have to leave. But thank you so much for this question. I think this question shows how communities already are well aware. They are fed up. They are saying no more tokenization, not to just to decorate ourselves. So I think this is our first kind of, this question shows how resilient we already are. So that's why, as a new woman connected, what we are building, we are giving the training of meaningful participation to the both, to the our community and to the policymaker and to the other multi-stakeholder. So they know how this community should be engaged, and community know how we ask for our right to be engaged in a meaningful way. As I said earlier, it's not a privilege. It's not a we asking for extra thing. It's our right to be engaged in a meaningful way. But if we don't know how we have been engaged is meaningful or no. If we have the more understanding, if we have more platform like this, if we have more spaces, if we have more advocacy understanding, then we can literally can say no more, no tokenization. And we can build, if we have, let's give you a very few points, tips. In meaningful participation, what we have been built, we are saying no more volunteer work for us as a community. If you are engaging us, there should be an honorarium or some kind of a partnership with the allocation of the funds. If we are inviting in such kind of spaces like COP30 or other local or regional, our time should be allocated with the honorarium. Our travel should be fully fledged, covered, and we get a respect, dignity as a equal partners. It's not like, oh, we are inviting few refugee women for share the story, or we are just being informed on the last moment. So we really need to have this kind of things and put it right away from today in your agenda. When someone inviting you for the future, send them Will you pay for my time? Will you cover my costs? Will you cover whatever you need? Put that ask in your meeting minutes, in your agenda, in your invitation reply. Otherwise, we will be having these multiple layers of exploitation, and it's never end, because the system we are unfortunately working with is the westernized capitalist system. It's not a human feminist work or system which is working for us. So we really need to stop barrier to this function, not to exploit us anymore. That's my message, and I love to see, please reach out to me. As I said, in upcoming weeks, we are working very closely in Kenya and Nairobi, and we love to see how we can generate more inclusive spaces. And I don't want to, how to say we are bringing something new. You already have this knowledge, you already have this expertise. We just need to polish it to create a more visibility. Thank you so much, and have a lovely weekend and a good event. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her. Okay, as Zamzam Foundation Reformations, our dedication is to serving vulnerable communities affected by climate change and displacement. We'll continue to strengthen anticipatory actions, support community-led adaptations, and ensure humanitarian finance reaches those most in need. My closing remarks for this will be thank you once again to our panelists, partners, and everyone who joined us today. Thank you, Kenya Red Cross, for arranging this. And this discussion has remained as that climate mobility is about people, not just movement. It's about protection, justice, and hope. As we move toward COP30, may today's dialogue translate into tangible commitments where humanitarian response and climate action work hand in hand. Like we said, action, right? Together, we can ensure a future where resilience is shared and no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
Please remain seated kindly for the picture as we welcome. The picture, please. Huh? Okay, thank you. Let's give a few claps. As we usher in the next panel, I don't know if I'll be allowed to keep on being here by Mr. Zachary. What are the key takeaways? I really want to hear from the room, and thank you very much for the questions. And Ms. Ali Nur, thank you very much for being part of this. Anila Nur, sorry. Thank you very much for being part of this panel. What are your key takeaways from that session? Please help me move around the mic. Zachary? Anyone? Let's start with the farthest table there. Any key takeaways? Anyone? Oh, okay.
Thank you again. I'm Grace Papa from the Stepping Stone Passionate Center. I said I'm the community stroke Kenya Red Cross Life member. The key takeaway, I think they have said justice for all, to all parts of Kenya. Everyone is supposed to have justice and hope for life. So I believe from today, even those people in my community, women and girls, they're going to get justice and hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate her. Organizers, I know this was not part of your big budget, yeah, but could we have small tokens for the most active people in my room? And I am very biased to have her. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Any other reflections from the session? Anyone? Yes, good. Please pass the mic.
Thank you so much. Frederick Mutinda from KCB Foundation. I think this conversation was really useful conversation because as a seasoned specialist who has been in protection from violence for quite some time, I think the overarching message that was coming out clearly is that we leave no one behind, which is very critical aspect. That teamwork and all our partnerships to be very intentional and purposeful to be able to collaborate in terms of the climate action that we want to achieve. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. As a seasoned, you said you're a seasoned what? Protection from violence expert. There are a lot of experts in this room, so I do not want to get it wrong. There was a hand up. Kenyatta University, right? Yes.
Okay, once again, good afternoon. So my key takeaway from the session is that climate justice and climate mobility is all about people, not borders. So we should be able to, all of us, be able to encourage one another, respect the dignity, and also, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So climate justice is not about borders, it is about people. Do you remember the catchphrases from the morning? What were the catchphrases? Oh my. What were the 3 catchphrases? Yes, the very first. Please help me with the mic. Yes. Good.
I know you have so many.
Just
so
one. Just give me the first one.
All right. Number 1 was collaboration over competition.
Collaboration over competition. Please pass the mic to Liz at the back. Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. Yes. Second hand and then third hand. Okay.
Okay. The second one was action over intention.
Action over? Is it action over? My catchphrase is Mesahau. And the last one, the table there.
I think it was solutions of
Oh, my
speeches.
dear, allow me not to give you my mic. Watasema niko biased to Kenya Red Cross Life members, and my boss should be very happy to see you here because our life members are very active. I love it. Yes, sir?
Solution over speeches.
Solution over speeches. Yes. And I'm loving the panel discussion so far because we are having a lot of my catchphrases being replicated in our conversations, and that's very encouraging. Don't worry, I've seen your hand at the back. I will give you an opportunity to answer a question. Unless there's any other feedback, allow me to wrap up this discussion and welcome the next panel. Is there a feedback from the room? Fantastic. Please clap for yourselves. Moving on swiftly, we have the third panel discussion. This is something that is very close to my heart. The session here will explore strategies to integrate gender, equality, disability, and social inclusion. The principles and into national and local climate action to amplify the voices of marginalized populations, promote community-led solutions that reflect diverse perspective. So as we are aligning to COP30 priorities on equity and justice, the dialogue will highlight how inclusive approaches can accelerate resilience, enhance adaptation, and ensure that no one is left behind in the global climate agenda. So this is the end discussion. I'm hoping the panelists are in-house and perhaps the control room can help me share their profiles on the screens. This session will be moderated by Mr. Henry Charlo from the International Center for Humanitarian Affairs. It's a very long title. I tend to think that table is Icha, right? No? Okay, meklap sana. Okay. This session also has Miss Akinyi Chemutai. Please, if I call your name and you're in the room, please join us on stage. Miss Chemutai is in the Women Renewable Energy. Then we have from KCBF, Mr. Frederick Mwangangi, who is the seasoned guy. He's seasoned. Seasoned in safeguarding and protection. Where Pole Bas. I just realized the head of partnership, Kenya Red Cross, is here, so she's seeing me butcher your titles. And I'm going to get a memo, so my apologies. Mr. Frederick is the manager, safeguarding and guiding at KCB Foundation. Right? Perfect. Okay. Then we have Ms. Trufena Muthoni. Are you here? Fantastic. So after this session, we will share with you the profiles because I got the chance to see everybody's profiles, whoever came at the front, and they're very rich. Karibu sana Ms. Trufena, she's with Children with Nature, founder VAD Vibes by Trufena. Okay, you'll tell us what VAD Vibes is, yeah? Fantastic. Last but not least, your honorable MC sits in this panel, sadly or not. So please, let's get to it. Professor Henry, one dad joke as we go, I promise. This one is on inclusion. So we are driving into inclusion and equity because climate action without inclusion is like ugali without? Ati? Ugali without what? Nyama in sukuma. Yes, it's just not complete without it. Sindio? Please give it up to Mr. Henry.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome. So we're here today to discuss a topic that sits at the very heart of effective climate action: inclusion and equity. We know the climate crisis is not an equal opportunity threat. It impacts fall hardest on those who have done the least to cause it: women, children, and indigenous communities, together with the marginalized. But this session is not just about vulnerability. It's about agency, innovation, and justice. It's about recognizing that without including these voices, our climate solutions are incomplete, unstable, and ultimately unjust. As we look towards COP30, the question is no longer if we could include, but how we must fundamentally redesign our approaches to be equitable by design. With me, it's a panel who are going to guide us in this discussion, and I would like to invite them to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Akinyi Chemutai, and I am the regional lead in Women Renewable Energy, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. My name again is Cecilia Mwangi. I serve as the National Youth Manager, Kenya Red Cross. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Trufena Muthoni. I am a youth advocate at Children with Nature, and I'm also an earth healing musician and a world record holder for the longest marathon hugging a tree. And I'm so much excited to be here.
What a pleasure to sit beside a marathoner. So I'm Frederick Mutinda Mwangangi. I'm the Safeguarding and Gender Manager lead with KCB Foundation, supporting all foundations activity within Kenya and the regions that we operate. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here also to share my experience, my 19 years journey in terms of this aspect of safeguarding gender equity and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, my panelists. So to get started, so COP30 is being framed as the implementation COP. From your unique perspective, what does truly inclusive and equitable implementation look on the ground? And why is it an non-negotiable for effective climate action, not just a nice to have? We can begin from my father's side.
Okay, good. I think one of the very clear rallying call that is coming out is action. And action will not be achieved by sitting down, by holding press conferences, but it's rather by engaging all the critical stakeholders to do what is supposed to be done to really address these deeply rooted structural issues that are being caused by global warming and climate inaction. So I think, for example, for KCB Foundation, one of the things that we are realizing is that most of those who are affected by the whole aspects of climate change, it is the children, young people, and the marginalized, or rather indigenous communities that we work with. And it's how do we ensure that they are not only part of the table, but they are also part of the action. And how then do we ensure that the design of our programs and interventions, they are clearly having these children, young people, and community, not at the center of them being beneficiary, but at the center of them also being part and parcel of contributors to this. And that's why, for example, when we speak about how then do we ensure from a banking perspective, we are very focused and targeted green climate financing that deliberately ensures that we are funding entrepreneurs and those actions that are towards addressing the issue of climate change. For example, do we speak about e-mobility? Do we speak about even in the infrastructure? Do we speak about climate smart technology? This is what we are doing as KCB Foundation to be able to contribute towards this global and national agenda towards mitigating the climate change initiatives. Yes.
Thank you. Trufena?
I could go as she prepares here. And just to build on to what Mr. Frederick is saying, I not only want to view young people, children, and what we term as vulnerable communities as being at the center. I would want to look at it from the point of, and allow me to be very biased to young people, youth as leaders in this conversation. Not leaders of tomorrow, but leaders of today, leaders of now. And I'll also give a very good example with what we're doing here at Kenya Red Cross. As we are coming to an end in our strategy 2021-2025, we have had young people at the focus, at the lead stage in this. So we have young people leading positive change in their communities, which entirely means that when we are thinking about climate adaptation, climate conservation, disaster risk reduction, climate financing, we need to have young people in the leading space. And the only way we can be able to do that at first is through capacity building of young people. We come from a space and time where young people or vulnerable communities, as we love to call them, don't have interests or don't know a lot about climate. That is not the case right now because we have a lot of capacities within this room. And I can give a very good example. We have a representative from Kenyatta University who is a young person. So having young people lead this then changes the conversation from we are at the center or we are an afterthought. Yeah. Thank you.
Akinyi, do you want to go first? And then Trufena.
I'm really happy that Trufena and Frederick have really, especially Frederick, when he has started with the green climate financing. We ask in Women in Renewable Energy, other than focusing on women, we also focus on youth. But we believe that women have to be part of the solution, women and youth. they cannot be, yes, they're vulnerable communities, but for us to have real change, they have to be part of the solution. And that's why we need to invest in them more. They need to be trained more to have green jobs. I think even Kenya, the way we're heading, is we're having more of green jobs. In the next 5 years, will triple. So we need to equip the women and the youth, even the vulnerable communities, to also have local innovation, because we believe local innovation will lead to local change. So I think, other than just saying that, I don't want us to only paint them as, because they're vulnerable, the victims and everything. No, they're also part of the solution.
Thank you. Trufena, what does inclusivity and equitable implementation look like on the ground?
Okay, inclusivity is, of course, inviting everybody to be able to be part of this conversation with whatever they understand and meeting them at their levels. So I thrive better in creativity, and that's how we are able to create platforms for young people, especially kids. Yeah, and to meet them at their level so that they understand better these climate change issues, and also give them a platform to express themselves. So like at COP30, we're going to have another world record attempt. It's a 72 hours of environmental endurance. You know, forest protection and indigenous wisdom is at the center of COP30 climate talks. So during COP30, we're going to hug a tree. There's a mauma, 300 years old. We're going to hug it non-stop for 72 hours with kids across the world. So this is a bold statement that children and also youth are not just victims, but they are at the forefront of bringing solutions. And also, yeah, so that is very important, actually. It's a silent protest, very peaceful and inclusive. And also during that time, we're going to have 3 hours for blindfolded. In the 72 hours of tree hugging, we're going to have 3 hours blindfolded. It's a tribute to people living with disability and their vulnerability to climate injustices. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Rufena. And talking about young people, Cecilia, young people are the forefront of climate activism and innovation across Kenya. So how is the KRCS Youth Department empowering youth to take leadership in community-based climate action and anticipatory initiatives?
Yeah, thank you. I wish I could attend with you. I will try hug a tree for a couple of hours when you're doing yours, and yeah, so then I can catch up. To answer your question, thank you. As I started by saying, Kenya Red Cross has put young people at the forefront in every step of programming, and this goes towards meaningful youth engagement. So meaningful youth engagement, we look at young people from the design to the conceptualization, to the implementation, to monitoring and evaluation of the program and the after effects. So that cross-cuts in our programming, and so for us it's very important that we have young people leading the change. A very good example is what Trufena is doing. It's a silent protest, but it's a bold statement across the world. And that is something we want to emulate as an organization. We are very big on capacity building of young people, and I want to credit the I4C, International Federation of the Red Cross. We have been working together with I4C to implement a toolkit called the Why Adapt Toolkit. Why Adapt Toolkit is a game-based methodology that supports young people to understand complex climate-related issues, come up with potential solutions, identify potential solutions for their communities, and come up with what we call micro-projects. So how we are able to do that, it's a three-phased approach. So we do the capacity building, we support them in advocacy. One level of advocacy is what Trufena is doing, but in our space, we support them to be part of these technical working groups at the county level, at the national level, hopefully at the global level. And then from that, then we support them in their local action. And just to build to that, their local action looks like, allow me to use you as an example. If you can see what Trufena has how she's dressed. It's a dress made of plastic, yes, plastic waste. And so this is a very good example of a locally led action. So waste management are the very basic. And for me, that has been quite impactful. We've done this in 11 counties in Kenya. We are hopeful to cross the 47 county mark. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that. Now, we are talking about women in renewable energy, Akinyi. So, how is your leadership and how can gender equality and inclusivity be more deliberately embedded in national climate action plans and renewable energy policies to align with COP30's priorities on equity and justice?
Thank you. That's a very heavy question, but I would gladly take it. I think first would be that we need to have inclusivity just the way Trufen has stated in every aspect, from the design to implementation or anything, especially with policies. I think in the beginning we've started really a good track of including women, but I think sometimes it's more of tokenism, like just to tick a box. And we need to have more of, I guess what you said, leadership and gender equality. It should be an inclusive, consistent designing challenge that even if you create, for example, a policy that is tied with both, you consistently also revise it because it also changes and all. So for right now, I will say is, in WIRE, we really believe in gender equality and women-led leadership, but I want to say that it also ties in with the money. 2X Global has stated that companies, organizations, and even governments get twice the income or twice the profits or twice just financing when we include women. It's because we have, when there's inclusivity, it also causes long-term change or systematic changes in the system. And then I think also we need to, other than women's participation, I think this COP may have maybe a higher number in participation. I will not attend, but for anyone who's going to attend, there's going to also be women renewable energy representatives there from all over the world, because we have around over 40 chapters and leaders. But we need to also go beyond the participation and having, the way this COP is gonna be on implementation, having more women in technical roles, having more women in science-based roles, having more women in funding roles. I focus on fundraising and grants, and I would tell you even the percentage of women who deal in that roles are very few. So we need more women in the to just cause the movement. It doesn't only have to be STEM, it can also be financing, it can be programs, it can be even communications. Even with policies, even with companies, you'd find they would focus on women in marketing roles, sales roles, but we have to go way beyond that, even in NGOs and all. So we need to make sure that these policies, renewable energy, even climate adaptation, have women in the forefront and also the youth. But it's not only to have a special paper. Normally in policies, I normally laugh. Like the whole policy is maybe 100 pages. You only find one page on children and youth and women all together. But no, it should have, even the youth should have their own section. But it should also be like, how are we gonna finance them? For me personally, for this COP to be implementation, we need to talk about finance, and finance, because it's money that moves this agenda, being honest.
Okay, and now we have Francis, Frederick, sorry. So the call is about finance from the young people and women. And KCB Foundation has been very instrumental in advancing youth and women empowerment through programs and entrepreneurship initiatives. So how can financial institutions like the one that you lead further integrate gender equality, disability, and social inclusion principles into climate financing to ensure that the marginalized groups, especially the women and the young actively benefit from the Kenya's transition to a green and resilient economy?
Yes, thank you so much. It's a very good question, and again, it's finance, finance, finance. And just to give a quick picture on how KCB Foundation operates, because then somebody might be asking, why KCB Foundation, why KCB Bank? KCB Foundation is the corporate social investment arm of KCB Group. We are a company within KCB Group, which means that we are a non-profit. After every financial year is declared, the profit before tax, we receive a certain percentage. So anybody who is banking with us here, you are also supporting the good work that KCB Foundation is doing. And it's because of this, then, we'll be able to interact with these community issues, like climate actions. For the youth, then we are able to interact with them, and also young people, from a skills perspective. As you know, we implement, let me say two in one areas. We have the entrepreneurship, whereby we are identifying what are these green skills that young people will need for them to be able to be active contributor. Because again, if we were to take advantage of this opportunity, then even young people, women, persons with disability, marginalized community, they need to have the right skills also to compete at that level. So it is through the skilling program that we are able to work across all the 47 counties and see what skills these young people will need, and they don't have them. And then we support skilling. We have quite a good number of young people who have taken skills in climate smart agriculture. We have supported that. After supporting then, skills is good, but again, finance. Do they have the finance to finance these interventions that they want to do? Maybe yes, maybe no. For those who don't have, then how do we ensure that we also provide startup toolkits for them to start, whether it's small businesses, small micro-entrepreneurship, or others? Sometimes a toolkit, then they may need capital. That's where now we link them to the bank. As you know, we operate with different portfolios of customers, from nanos, MSMEs, SMEs, and even the corporate banking. So depending on their lending capacity and how they have been profiled by the bank, then they are able to access this youth-friendly or women-tailored financial product for them to advance this. Actually, as we speak, through if you can read our sustainability reports for 2024, we were able to lend as KCB Group 53.2 billion in funding projects towards green. Those are the green lending projects, whether from e-mobility, infrastructure, all those things. And even within our own procurement system, we were able to set aside 7.5% of the opportunities to these women, young people, and this marginalized group to be able to take care of that. So we have several interventions that we are deliberately ensuring that we are really addressing the specific needs that the community needs to be able to contribute towards this. Thank you.
Okay. I think my takeaway from Frederick is the young people need skills, because the finances are not just going to be given anyhow. They must be aligned with the needs of their community. Now, Trufena, the young people, we've talked about the young people quite a bit. Of course, Cecilia has talked about that. But then we have children whose voices, have not been heard. And so my question is, how is Children with Nature working to strengthen child-led climate advocacy and environmental education in Kenya?
Okay, Children with Nature has a lot of programs in schools and also in other marginalized areas like Takana. So we go to schools, we plant trees with kids, we engage them and mentor them in environmental conservation. Yeah.
Okay. To Akinyi, So from Wire's experience working with women and youth in renewable energy innovation, what practical approaches or partnership have been proven effective in ensuring that climate technologies and financing are accessible, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of marginalized communities?
Well, I would, that's also another heavy question. But I will say that in terms of partnerships, also even accessibility, is we need to, it's very funny, I was part of a forum where it was a donor forum, and they were wondering what ways, they were doing analysis of the amount of applicants who are women and youth were always low. But if you look at the application form or the grant application was like around 12 pages. It had jargon that even us who are professionals were also like, you have to sit down and go through it. I think we need first is accessibility. We need to make it more accessible, more comprehensive. I do know that climate is now, everyone knows about climate, but we need to also make it in a way that youth groups and women groups can also easily access. The other thing is we need to also have more representation. I think sometimes communication is such a powerful tool than you think. I was part of a project, renewable energy-wise, where we were wondering why one company, X and Y, why does one company have more female customers than the other company? And you look at the posters and the adverts, there was no woman. Then number two, even the way this, renewable energy sale agents are being trained to only, like they're being told, look for the household lead, who's the household man, look for the person who is in charge of the household. That also prevents women, because automatically we think that's a man. So we need to also change our language, and we need to also change communication to have it be very more inclusive. We need to show and all. And then I think in terms of innovation, it is also good to have more of, I'm happy to see lately, you've seen donors have started having more of like women-led challenges, having more of women-led. That really does change, but I think also, I think some of us, especially women who are in science backgrounds or engineering, I think also having a safe spaces to convene, to test out your innovations and all. But we also need to showcase role models. Who are the ones who are leading innovation locally? Is it women, all that? So we need to have more of showcase of role models so we can have more women in leadership. Because I think we're very comfortable, women and youth being in the background, but you'll find out like for some cases, you even find some companies would put, most women-led companies, sometimes they will tell you they tend to put their CFO as a man, because they feel, I don't know, we need to change the jargon, because they would say that the donor is worried that if we have a woman, especially married or has kids, that they would not be able to ensure the company or dedicate to the company that heavily. So I think even that's why I'm so heavily on finance, is because policy, yes, we actually have good policies, even here in Kenya. Policy is working, but it's working a little bit slow. It's money that makes speedings faster. And I think the other thing finally is we need evidence-based tracking, where like, for example, if Trufena, like she has evidence that this is the amount of kids, my programs are affecting children like this, and even after she works with the kids, what happens, we go a follow-up, you see there's long-term evidence left after the program. Evidence-based type of tracking or documentation really works well for us to even have, showcase this. But yeah, I hope I've answered your heavy question well, but back to you.
Yeah, and now to Frederick. The financing that is given to the vulnerable people, and especially the women and the youth and the marginalized communities, most of the time is viewed as charity rather than smart investment. How would you respond to that?
I want to respond to that by saying that if we are to be deliberate in terms of investing in societies, then we need to walk the talk. As KCB Foundation, we don't give charity, we don't give grants. However, we invest. We invest through investing money to develop, for example, these skills. And I want to give, at many times, people will feel that, and gender, I'm fully realizing, gender is not about women, but is ensuring that even every man in this house, we uphold very strong and fundamental feminist principles that we should be able to think from a gender perspective. Saying that, our data, one thing that you cannot argue with is data, and especially if it's scientific data. From a banking perspective, actually, women have the best loan repayment rates than men. So we are even more comfortable lending to women than men. But you go out, notion there will be, if you give women money, pesa itaenda kwa chama, it will be used in this. Of course, yes, even if they used to buy food, they still achieve the goal that they wanted. So to cut the long story short, is that the whole idea